I think sometimes when you have a difference of any kind, whether it's social, facial, religious, cultural, you walk out with a guard on. But when you get here, you get to let that guard down, and that feeling of relaxation just emanates throughout the place.
Get to speak out, get to talk, get to be like friendly, have the fun.
I just automatically felt the love. I felt like I belong. I felt like for once I didn't stick out.
Hi, I'm Erica Mossholder, the Executive Director of Children's Craniofacial Association, a national and international nonprofit that empowers and gives hope to families and individuals affected by facial differences. We are so thankful that you've joined us today to watch this virtual keynote address that features Jono Lancaster. Thank you for your attention, your excitement, and truly your financial gifts to this program. It is changing the world to make the world a kinder, more accepting place. So what do we do at CCA? We empower kids and families with facial differences. And you might be wondering what a facial difference is. So there are many different kinds. First of all, one of the most common, 1 in 700 babies each year are born with cleft lip and palate. You yourself might know someone that has experienced this syndrome. It is very treatable, but it does require many surgeries. Then there are conditions like our keynote speaker, Jono Lancaster, has, which is Treacher-Collins, and it's much more rare. It affects about 1 in 100,000 births a year. And then there are people like me. I myself have an undiagnosed craniofacial condition, and it wasn't until I found CCA in my 20s that I found a doctor that knew how to address the complex issues that my condition was causing me to endure. But when I found CCA, I didn't just find a doctor. I found a family. And that's what we want to impress upon you. Once you know about CCA, you are also a part of our family. You are a family of advocates that are changing the world, and you are creating a more accepting environment everywhere you go, just by understanding that people who look different are more like you than they are different. You are making space for people with facial differences. So today, we hope you'll learn a little bit more about our families. And we hope that you'll also be empowered to be an advocate, not only for kindness to others, but also kindness and acceptance of your own self. It is truly revolutionary. We would like you to know that these stories that you'll hear today, and the videos and the clips and the photos, they aren't just stories. They represent real people and real families who have lent their voices to our mission to make the world a kinder place. So as you see these kids and the families that they represent, we hope that you know that they go through on average 25 surgeries in their lifetime before age 18. They also face bullying at a rate 10% higher than the rest of kids, which already face bullying far too often in their schools. And we hope you know that they are some of the most resilient self-advocates out there, and they have a lot to teach all of us. The ability to speak confidently about yourself and to unabashedly portray your mission to the world is all of our greatest strength. So we hope today inspires you, and we hope that you will leave this virtual keynote knowing a little bit more about how to interact with people who look different than you, and also how to appreciate your own unique brilliance. I would like to introduce my good friend and our keynote speaker, Jono Lancaster. Jono is from Yorkshire in the UK, and he has traveled all over the globe, meeting kids that look just like him and have other craniofacial similar syndromes to him, to impart on them the magical, life-changing importance of self-love. Once you accept yourself, the world opens up to you. And Jono is the most amazing advocate we could think of to speak on this topic. So without any further delay, I would like to turn it over to Jono. And throughout this video, you'll see me and some of our staff pop up, and we're going to answer maybe 1 or 2 questions that you might have at the end. And then later on in this process, we plan to do a roundtable that will be a couple of weeks after this presentation. So Thank you so much again for joining us. And thank you so much, Jono, for being here and sharing your story with us.
My name is Jono Lancaster, and I was born with Treacher-Collins syndrome. The two adults that were supposed to love me no matter what felt that when I was born, we needed to go our separate ways. The hospital team, social services, needed to find somebody to care for me. They needed an adult that would just be there for me, give me a chance. And they approached a lady called Jean. Jean, at the time, was a single mum. She didn't own her own home. She'd retired. Her kids had grown up and moved out. But Jean, she just had this massive heart, so much love. She's decided to invest her time and energy, her love, her emotion. She opened up her home to children with disabilities. And the social services spoke to Jean about myself. There's a boy in hospital. His birth parents have left him. And he needs a family, he needs a home, he needs somebody to look after him. Jean, would you like to meet him? And this 5-foot superhero was like, yes, I would love to meet this child. I was 2 weeks old when Jean first met me, and she traveled down to the hospital. And again, every health professional, doctors, nurses, social workers, all the adults in my life, they all warned Jean about my face. You need to be prepared for the way he looks because he looks different. But this just went over Jean's head. She didn't understand why all these adults kept on talking about my face. Why did she need to be prepared? So she went to the hospital on that day, and she's always told me she was just excited. And then she first saw me, and she's always told me that she just couldn't help but smile. And she asked if she could hold me. And the nurses said yes. And she's always told me that first time she picked me up and held me, she felt an instant connection, an instant bond. And she turned around to the nurses and like, when can I take Jonathan home? And Jean was like, he's mine. And on the 18th of May, 1990, I found my forever home, my forever family, and officially became a Lancaster. Jean, I guess, had always been my mum, but now it was official. And yeah, she's my superhero. She really is. Yeah, she was just everything. And then as I got older, that's when I started to notice that, the kids would stare. Kids in the playground, they would all nudge their friends. They would point at me. They would laugh. And, all of a sudden I'm having these conversations with my mum. Why do I live with you? What happened to my birth parents? Why don't I have a dad? Why does everybody stare at me? And my mum, Jean, always came back with that love and always came back with that encouragement. And, I'm here for you. You've got friends, you've got school, and, you just need to ignore them and believe in yourself. And again, I listened to my mum, but as I got older, I started to listen to the bullies rather than my mum. And again, back to those thoughts, if my birth parents couldn't love me, how can anybody else love me? Going forward in my life, how am I ever going to get into a relationship? How am I ever going to get a job when I look like this? Those thoughts kind of snowballed into what is my future going to look like when I look like this? I'd spend so many hours at home looking at my face in the mirror. And every time I did, I tried to imagine a regular face, a face like yours. And every time I imagined my life with a regular face like yours, I imagined a world that I wouldn't be bullied. I'd be accepted. 18, 19-year-old Jonathan hid away at home in his bedroom, hating his face and not really knowing which or where I was going or what was going to happen next. And again, if I didn't have Jean, those thoughts, if I didn't have Jean, those thoughts are pretty scary. I did have friends. I do have friends who have also, at various times in my life, honestly, they've saved my life. They've recognized when I've been withdrawing, when I've been hurting. I might have not said anything, but they've definitely seen it. I had a friend called Ben, and Ben, he used to bully me. Here in the UK, we play rugby. And for those that don't know, rugby is a bit like American football, without all the pads. Us Brits are definitely a lot tougher than you Americans. So, yeah, we play this game of rugby with no pads. Very rough, very physical, a lot of tackling. And whilst at rugby training, Ben always used to make the comment, don't tackle Jono, don't touch him, you'll get his disease. You'll end up looking like him. And you can't catch Streacher Collins. But as kids do back in then, all of a sudden it was this joke, it was this game, run away from Jono. But people do change. And me and Ben, as we grew older, he became my best bud. We have a massive interest in music, fashion, film, and we just became best buds. And now if I ever need, if we're ever out and I want a free drink, I will just bring up the rugby story, and Ben feels so guilty, and I'll get at least a couple of drinks out of him. He's the legend. I'm hiding away, and Ben comes over to my house one evening, and he's like, Jono, you don't answer your phone, you don't reply, what's going on? And Ben, all of a sudden, he flicked on the tough love. He's like, dude, you need to quit feeling sorry for yourself. I'm here to tell you I've got you a job. He worked in a bar, an 80s bar called Reflex. And they wore this ridiculous T-shirt that said, Frankie says Reflex, with a big love heart, 80s on the other side. And he's like, here's your uniform. I've got you a job working at Reflex with me, mate. And I'm like, no chance. And he's like, Jono, honestly, you'll love it. The chicks are hot. We booze all night while we're working. It is the best job. Once we've finished, we'll go out boozing afterwards, mate. It's amazing. But for me, I'd been out into nightclubs. I've been to bars and restaurants, and I spent more time hiding in the toilet. My friend Ben's telling me I'm going to be working in the industry. No chance. Me and Ben ended up arguing. We got into a fight. But somehow, that Thursday night, that following Thursday, I'm in my Frankie Says Reflex shirt, and I'm stood behind the bar with my friend Ben. In my uniform, dripping with sweat and nervous wreck, and he's just talking to everybody, laughing, joking, having the time of his life. And I'm like, I would do anything to be Ben. 7 o'clock, the doors open, and everybody starts coming in. And I just felt everybody staring at me. You know, I'm hearing people talking, and I'm like, they're talking about my face. They're talking about my face. I'm hearing people laughing, and I'm like, they're laughing at me. They're making jokes of me. That's what I'm hearing. People are looking at me, staring at me. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I wanted the ground to swallow me up, and I'm like, I need to get out of here. 7:30, 8 o'clock, there were a taxi rank right outside the bar. Got into a taxi and went home. And as soon as I opened the door, my mum's there at the bottom of the stairs. She must have been planning to stay there all night because she wanted to see me when I got home. And again, as my mum always did, jumped up like a little giddy little puppy that she was. How was it? What happened? Did you enjoy it? Yeah, how's it gone? Again, another moment where I had the chance to say everything. And I did. I wanted to tell my mum how much I was hurting. I wanted to tell my mum how much I hated my face, how much I hated my birth parents. But instead, my best fake smile. Mum, I'm okay. The hours, the money, it's just not for me. And she's gone downstairs into the room, and I've gone up into my room. And again, alone in my bedroom, why me? Why did I have to look like this? And days just passed. I just existed. Back came Ben, more of that tough love stuff. Another fresh uniform, another Frankie Says Reflex t-shirt. He's like, you put it on. I don't care what you're saying, mate. You're coming back to the bar. We fought and we argued some more, but that following Thursday night, I was back behind the bar. I'm a dripping with sweat. I'm a nervous wreck. 7 o'clock, the doors open. Everybody starts coming in. Everybody's wanting a drink. And all I'm thinking is, everybody's talking about me. Everybody's laughing at me. I need to go. When can I leave? When can I get in that taxi? That's all I'm thinking about. And as I've got this thought process going on, this guy walks into the bar, and at Reflex there were these big double doors that opened, and normally one in, one out. But this guy walks in and he takes up the whole space. Huge guy, muscles coming out of muscles that I didn't even know existed, head to toe in tattoos, piercings everywhere. And he burst through and he saw me and he made a beeline straight to where I was working. He gets to my bar and he just leans over the bar. And everywhere I went, his eyes just followed. And I was like, oh, this guy's about to make my night a living nightmare. I'm working from right to left. And he's over here on my left. And I'm just hoping that somebody gets to him before I get to him. I'm like, I need to get out that way to get home. And he's there. So I'm working that way across and nobody gets to him. So it's down to me. And I'm like, I'm stood in front of him, looking at my feet, trying to avoid any sort of eye contact. Like, excuse me, what would you like to drink? And this guy, I was like, hold up. Before you get me my drink, what happened to your face? Why do you look like that? I hated talking about my face. So I repeated my question. What would you like to drink? And he's like, no, mate, what happened to your face? Were you in an accident? You know, why do you look like that? So I told him that I was born like this. And he was like, all right, fair enough, but what's wrong with your ears? And I thought my hair hid my ears. So I'm like, oh, again, I was just born like this. And he was like, all right, but okay, but what's that in your head? Pointing to my hearing aid. Are you deaf? And I was like, yeah, I need a hearing aid to hear, mate. Yeah, I'm deaf without it. And he was like, okay, if you take it off, mate, then, and you don't have your hearing aid in, what can you hear? Can you hear out? So I explained to him that I can't hear anything without my hearing aid. And then this guy's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. I'd love to be deaf. I'd love to have an hearing aid and I could pick and choose when I wanted to hear. I'm like, why do you wish you were deaf, mate? And he was like, well, I'll tell you what, mate. My wife at home, she's so loud. We're going to be divorced any day soon because every morning it's like somebody just put batteries in her and she's just like talky at me, and I just want my morning coffee in peace. And she's just talking at me and I'm not even listening to what she's saying or even responding, but she's still talking at me. If I was deaf, if I had a hearing aid, mate, I wouldn't have to listen to the wife. And I smiled and I laughed and I was like, oh mate, I do that all the time with my mum. My mum's talking at me and shouting at me, and I'm like, yep, hearing aid off so I can have another moment of peace. And we laughed and we smiled. And then something amazing happened. He was like, what's your name? And I was like, it's Jano. And he's like, oh, do you want a drink? And I was like, yeah, but do you want a drink? And he's like, yeah, I'll have a double vodka Red Bull, get yourself one. And do you want to do a shot with me? I was like, okay, yeah. So we do shots. And then he holds out his hand and he shakes my hand. He's like, nice to meet you, Jono. Have a good night. And off he goes into the middle of the night, somewhere, like disappears. And that stranger, in that moment, in those words, in that 5-minute conversation, changed my life forever. he will probably never ever remember that moment and that exchange. But I'm still talking about him 17, 18 years later, because honestly, his words, his actions just stuck with me. When he left, I like kind of had a moment. I stepped back and I was like, oh my God, I got him completely wrong. I thought he was going to make fun of me, but he was actually just curious. And it's actually okay to talk about my face. And I actually kind of thought things were kind of cool, that I could have a hearing aid. And I was like, oh, okay, I'd got him completely wrong. And if I've got him wrong, what else have I got wrong? These people that are, I'd like to think I'm the center of the universe, but these people talking over here, they've probably got something better to talk about. These people that are laughing, they're just probably having the time of their life because they've had a crappy week, working 9 to 5, and they're out living their best life. And I do genuinely believe that every single one of us has a power inside of us to change somebody's life forever. A single word, a single hello, a single smile, a single moment can change somebody's life. We can say something to somebody that can cut so deep that it can cause them a lifetime of pain. But on the flip side, we can say something to somebody that can, for the rest of their life, give them hope. You know, when they're ever doubting themselves, they can remember that moment that they shared with you, and it can give them belief, it can give them hope, it can give them an added strength, you know, and we have that power inside of us right now. And I beg of you to use that superpower, use those words, that kindness today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life, because there'll be people talking about you from 15 years from now. You won't even realize it, but people will be talking about you and like, oh my God, I met this stranger once and they changed my life forever. You can be that person. You can be the guy at the bar. And I'm so glad and so grateful that I met these people. And I went from hiding away and somehow I was out there. And by being out there, I was very lucky enough to meet these people. And I'm now 36, and I know I don't look it, but I am 36. And I've gone in this past 20 years, but 15 to 20 years, I've gone from hating my face, hiding away, to thinking I'm the sexiest guy in the world. Honestly, I love my face. I now travel the world, and so many opportunities have presented themselves because I accept who I am, and I love who I am, and everything about me is kind of added to who I am. But I kind of get frustrated because I often think, you know, what would have life been like if I had found my acceptance at a much younger age? And again, later on in life, I discovered foundations, non-profits like CCA. And again, I think, what would my life have been like if I had met CCA as a teenager, as a child, and they were there throughout all these chapters? I'm pretty certain I would have found my acceptance, you know, at a much younger age. And
so we're so excited that all of you are with us trying to learn how to be more accepting and how to practice inclusion. And I thought it might be great to loop in some of our CCA team members who work on this day in and day out. And today with us, we have Khadijah Moten, who is our outreach director, and Kara Jackman, who is our marketing and communications coordinator. And you still may be feeling like, what do I do if I'm in that situation, like the guy at the bar who wanted to ask Jono and then turned it into a joke about his hearing aids? He made a genuine connection, but maybe there's a better way to open up. So how would you open up a question or a conversation with someone that you wanted to learn a little bit more about their visible difference?
If we're at the bar, definitely would want to start with, you know, what's your favorite drink, or what do you like to, what's your favorite dance move, or what do you like to do? If I'm, you know, I think starting from there and starting from a place of loving kindness is very important way to begin. But and then eventually jumping into those the more intense questions of what happened to your lip, if it's me in my case, or why are you wearing hearing aids? Those are things that come later. But initially we want to build rapport and build some sort of common ground, and then we can go and move from that common ground into some uncommon ground.
Awesome. And Jono, if you could have improved upon that situation so many years ago, what advice would you offer to someone who wants to ask a question to another person with a visible difference?
Thinking about that specific moment, it was that moment at that time was perfect for me. Somehow that's what I needed. The guy was himself. Yes, he could have chose better words. Yes, a smile and a hello would have been amazing. Offering to buy me a drink first and asking my name first, that would have been better. But at that time, that was what I needed. It's like everything happens for a reason. So he was himself. And I think if you yourself, you can't go wrong. It's just a moment that changed my life forever. So I kind of don't want to dissect it and change anything because it was perfect for me for that moment. But we're connected. And once you've got that connection, it can potentially go anywhere. So yeah, that's my answer.
I think that's truly perfect. The intentions came through in that scenario. And that's why we want to encourage everyone who's watching this, don't be afraid. One of my favorite things is if it's your child, maybe don't tell your child, don't stare, say hello. So it's okay to be curious. It's okay to ask questions. Just let that goodness and that openness come from your intentions. I have another question. When we think about doing more than just putting people at ease so we can get our questions answered, how can we actively be someone's superhero? Maybe you don't want to date them, or maybe you don't want to be their best friend, but you want to be a champion for them. Do you have any advice on these little light bulb moments that you can create in others' lives?
Sure. So I really like about speaking from your heart and letting that kind of guide how you act or what you say towards other people. I think superhero is like a really big role, or it sounds like a really big role, but the impact that we have on other people is not determined by us, it's determined by them. And so the little things that we do could have dramatic impacts in their life. And it's important to kind of remember that we don't know what those silent battles that people are facing, whether that's in their personal life or in their family life or in their professional life. But that smile that you share with them, or that compliment, or holding that door for them could have dramatic impact in the way that their day is going. So not belittling those small actions that you can share with someone. I think that's how you make those big impacts in people's lives. And it also makes a big impact in your life just by sharing kindness and being a good person.
Awesome. Thank you. Jono, do you have anything to tell other people, just to encourage them how they can be those life-changing moments in other people's lives?
Kara and Khadija have just hit the nail on the head. And I think if I'm going to summarize it, and I think back about the guy in the bar and other people, they made me feel present. They made me feel like I belonged in this world. They made me feel like I had been heard, I'd been listened to. And I can't express how at times we all need to feel present. We all need to feel we are right here in this very moment. And I think, that's the powerful stuff. When we talk about sadness and loneliness, and we feel like we're on our own, or we feel like we're the only one going through this, those people that somehow help, and it might be a stranger, in that moment, we felt heard. We felt that you was part of that moment, and that's huge.
Being present for others and allowing them to be seen and heard is at the core of kindness. So if you take anything away from how to change your life, it's to open the space and then really see people as a whole human, not just one facet. So much, Jono and Team CCA, for sharing your incredible story and your thoughts with us. Thank you, Jono, for opening up and being so vulnerable so that we can all envision a world where everyone is accepted and embraced for who they are, not what they look like. We've talked about going beyond just this acceptance and tolerance. And we want to make sure that you feel confident that if your new coworker who has a facial difference comes into your workplace, they're not just accepted, but they're embraced enough that you would be invited to their wedding. They're comfortable enough coming to work and sharing their new baby announcement with you. And maybe they go out on maternity leave and they're comfortable enough when they come back to say, things didn't actually go as planned, but we're still so excited to introduce our new baby. And you're empowered to say, congratulations. I want to remind you, friends, that these are not just stories. They're not just photos and videos that we shared with you today. They're real people. They're real kids and adults who have triumphed and shared their success with you today. And they're real families who've experienced heartache and tragedy, but still lend their voice to our mission in hopes that their experience shifts the narrative for other families. I want to close in saying that I know there are a lot of problems out there right now, and I know there are a lot of amazing causes asking for help. However, if you choose to support CCA, know that your contributions make a direct impact on real families. Our families write us letters and emails all the time saying that our work is life-changing and literally life-saving for their children. And we're also making a societal change. We are shifting how the entire world treats people with differences, and you can be a part of that mission. We are warriors in the fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion in schools and workplaces, and we truly believe that we are more alike than different. So even if you cannot financially support our mission, I ask that you open your heart and your mind. Changing how you interact with and talk about people with visible differences adds to the momentum of widening the circle of acceptance. Shifting your own mindset changes the world and quite literally can save a life. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, you can always choose kind.
Here in the UK, I have the Love Me, Love My Face Foundation. We're great friends with CCA. And over the past few years, I've gone all over the world, Europe, South America, sharing the work that we do. And we're doing our bit, but we really need you to do your bit. If I would have had a CCA at an early age, I would have been able to fight my insecurities, take it to the mat, own my story, show off my dance moves, cheer loudly for my team, prepare to give my best shot, share my talents with the whole world, jump into the next chapter of my life, communicate all my hopes and fears.